Riley Beveridge for North Melbourne's final hit-out ahead of facing Melbourne's to begin their 2022 practice match campaign. Blue 4-4, pink 2-1, if it really matters. Second term being brought to you by AIA, the Health, Life and Wellbeing partner of the North Melbourne Football Club. Sign up as a Kangaroos member and redeem your offer for 9 weeks free health insurance with AIA at aia.com.au. Club's General Manager of Football Talent, Brady Rawlings, has been good enough to join us. Brades, thanks for your time. What did you make of the first quarter?
Yeah, g'day, Nige. Yeah, it was some good viewing out there. It's just this time of year, it's great to see once you get to games, and we're only a week out from playing real competition. So the boys have had a big pre-season, and yeah, just good to see them out there competing against each other.
We're going to hopefully chat to Daniel McPherson in the third quarter. There's been a raft of changes on and off the field in the off-season. That's also included some changes in the football department as well. Tell us about the adjustments to the footy department and particularly what you're overseeing now from a list and talent point of view.
Yeah, you're right. There's been a lot of change, especially in the high performance area, but we also made a change in that GM space, and Frosty comes in with a wealth of experience from Melbourne in a footy operations role. So yeah, we're splitting the role. He's performance-based, and I'm more off-field with the talent. So my role is more around the contracting of players, strategy around our list, and overseeing the recruitment from a draft, from a pro scouting, and we've got some futures scout in our team as well that I oversee. So yeah, I'm more the talent, and Frosty's operational side.
Brady, we know what myself and Nigel, we look out for, and fans look out for in these type of circumstances when there's intra-clubs about 3 or 4 weeks out from the season. In your position, what are you most looking out for?
Yeah, it's obviously the coaches are starting to work towards their round one team, so that's their focus. I'm a little bit more around guys coming through in the pink team, maybe a couple of fringe spots in the blue as well, and just seeing where we settle into round one in that space. Obviously, there's always players coming out of contract, and even players that are in contract you might want to lock away for a little bit longer. So,
like that man?
Yeah, he is one. Cam's obviously out of contract this year, and we're in chats with his management now. So, yeah, that type of thing with players coming out of contract, you just want to make sure you've got all the evidence you need before you go and start speaking to management.
Don't adjust the colour balance on your computer screen or phone or however you're watching this game. Tristan Xerri copped a knock in the first quarter. He was on the blue side originally. He's come off the ground. We'll wait for an update on whether he checks back in. But Todd Goldstein now wearing a blue jumper, and Callum Coleman-Jones, right on cue, presenting to that footy, is now wearing the pink strip. Simpkin goes on the left foot and is able to hit up Nick Larkey on the chest. And Braid's great reward, but what development curve Nick Larkey's been on to go from being a late pick in the draft a couple of years ago to now being part of the club's leadership group.
Yeah, it's been a massive rise. He's obviously a great pick from back years ago when the guys took him in the 70s, and the same year was Cam as a rookie and Jai Simpkin in the first round. So it's looking like a pretty good off-season that year. But yeah, Larks he's been terrific. Obviously last year going in as the main key forward with the Ben Brown trade, and he took it all on. He worked incredibly hard all off-season and played every game for us last year as that key focal point, and I think he ended up with 42. So, and now to see him in the leadership group's a credit to him. He's got some real influence around the group, and with a young forward line, it's really important to have that leadership up in this forward line. So him and Cam being the most experienced players in our forward line at the moment.
Pig team not quite able to extract it from Jack Marnie. Shot a goal. Greenwood tackling Kate Answorth. So we've got a repeat stoppage inside the first couple of minutes. Marnie couldn't glove it. Goda. As far as Simpkin, Zeebull. You can see the eyes light up for a shot at goal there for the skipper, but the ball will be advantage pink, and Bailey Scott knows it too. He'll take off. No one inside forward 50 as yet as he kicks this ball. Little tick lead from Comben is rewarded with a mark, and now he needs to try and equalise the numbers in front of him, and this man's having a feast. I reckon halfback's just about the best spot to play intra-club game of any sort, and Ben Mackay able to take yet another intercept mark. Have you seen his pre-season, Braids?
Yeah, he's been really good, Buckets. I reckon he's had 5 intercept marks already today. He's been a real standout down there. But yeah, he's one that obviously took his game to another level last year after probably been in and out for a fair few years. Really solidified himself when we're up in the hub in 2020, took his game to a new level in 2021, and we're hoping he does it again in 2022. We think he can be one of the best in the comp in his role.
Simpkin tried to step Ainsworth. Davey Juniak left it for Hall. Goes back for Zeeble. Half volley pick up from LDU was clean to Taylor. Goes looking for Marnie, who marks. It's 2-on-2 inside forward 50. He marks. Horn Francis is scuttling forward as well. The lead will come onto the chest of Larkey, and he marks in front of Marty Hall.
Brady, I want to ask you about Cal Coleman-Jones. Obviously came to the club in the off-season, started this match forward of the ball, but whether it's by plan or necessity with Tristan Jerry going again, he's moved into the ruck. Where do you see him starting his North Melbourne career, and do you think he does emerge when Todd Goldstein gets to the end of his career as the side's next number 1 ruckman?
Yeah, Rolly, I think he can really emerge, obviously, and take that number 1 spot in the ruck in the future. The beauty about Cal, we think he can fit in with any ruck combination at this stage, whether it be a 50-50 combination, whether you've got a number 1 ruck that's taken 80% and Cal takes 20. He's got that versatility to fit in with any ruck combination, which is really valuable. You've got some certain ruckmen that can only probably go 50% of the ruck, some that can mainly forwards that can probably pinch hit for 20%. But with Cal, we feel like he's got that versatility to play with any combination, but in the future we really see him as being playing a vital role for us in the ruck.
So first goal of the second quarter to the side in blue. Nick Larkey becomes the first multiple goal kicker of the day to date. 5-5 plays 2-1 as we're through 4.5 minutes of the second quarter. Lazaro, tangle of legs with Powell. Simpkin clean and once again can find the exit to Goldstein, now wearing the blue jumper. Larkey versus Hoare, and Larkey just had the height and stretch advantage on Marty Hoare in the end, and so he'll get a look at a third of the afternoon.
We referenced Marty Hoare then, obviously got a very tough job on Nick Larkey at the moment, Brady, but one of the train-on players at the club. How does that look, and how is that shaping up ahead of the deadline on March 9?
Yeah, obviously we've still got a couple of weeks up our sleeve. We've got the 1 list spot free at the moment, which we'll give to Tom Lynch. And Marty's been training on since prior to Christmas in the event that another spot shall open up. So, obviously not too sure where that's going to end up at this stage with our list spot, and whether it is Marty or someone else. But he hasn't put a foot wrong all pre-season. This is probably not the greatest matchup for him, with playing on our number 1 key forward. He's probably more suited to that third type and be able to mix and match on your mids that are forward or your sort of third tall type. So, but in intra-clubs, you find yourself on some bigger players, and we'll see how he goes on Larks for the rest of the day. But he's probably more suited to the Cam Zerha sort of type matchup.
Strong mark to Goldstein, so repeat entry here for the side in blue. Larkey will split the pack with a fist. Scott wears the contact from Zerha. Jaden Stevenson's been able to, by the looks of it, get sufficient amount of work in, Brady, despite the injury.
Yeah, he come back, obviously that first few weeks he's ultra G and really closely monitored when he came back to pre-season, but since then he's been really good, and once we strengthened up his legs and got him back to running at speed, he's been really good at training. He's had some real influence in some of our match sim over the last few weeks, and having some real effect in that forward half of the ground for us.
Strong tackle applied by Kyron Hayden, who's another who's jumped from pink to blue. He had a trade period at quarter time here, Brady, with a few players swapping jumpers. Don't think you can swap future picks regarding an intra-club, though, that a player will then swap sides for next season. Not quite that complicated. Nonetheless, a free kick has gone the way of Matthew Walker, who kicked 9 from his 7 VFL games last year after coming off the Hawthorn AFL list after a couple of seasons there. That's a really good kick, navigating the breeze. So, third major of the day so far for the side wearing pink. Eddie Ford and Todd Goldstein in the opening quarter, their goal kickers so far. VFL program really hit its straps before the pandemic sort of took hold in the back half of 2021, Brady. But again, I imagine that was a pretty strong advertisement, and it looks like, based on some of the players we're seeing here today, that the team that Lee Adams is going to coach has kept its VFL core together this year, which is really important.
Yeah, it is really important. Obviously, we got Harry Jones and Matty Walker once they were delisted from the Hawks. They've been great additions to our club, not just from their talent, but they're seeing themselves as North Melbourne people now as well, and that's crucial to your VFL program, that the guys can come here and feel like they're really part of the furniture. So there too, we've got Jack Watkins, who's playing for us today as well, who's forward in the pink side, who's in his second year, and Answorth as well, has been around obviously at Sandy for a long time, and he's part of the furniture as well. So it's great when you got those guys that come in, play intra-clubs, feeling at training, they know our game plan, they know how we're educated, and they fit in really seamlessly.
It's legislation on the run in so many things in our world at the moment, but are you anticipating that the AFL will hand something down that means if you did get to a point where there were only 22 available because of COVID going through the footy club, that your VFL list is your first port of call?
Yeah, there'll definitely be a rule put in place pretty soon, I would have thought, in the next couple of weeks. We've had some initial chats with the AFL. They're still working through what that looks like, and obviously what's equitable across the 18 clubs as well. Everyone's got a different situation with their Tier 2 program, but I think with going into a season that could be heavily affected by COVID, you need to have that backup system, and it seems that your Tier 2 would be the obvious situation to pull from.
Callum Coleman-Jones about to have a shot at goal. They need to carry all of 50 metres with a little bit of breeze to make the use of. He's excellent contact, but it will miss to the right-hand side. As competitive as your part of the football industry is, it is quite collegiate as well, with your fellow list managers and recruiters. I have spotted a couple through the binoculars on the cameras here today. Kinnear Beatson and David Walls are just to the right of screen as this piece of play pans. Do you decide just to do a lap at some stage and call in and see how a few of your fellow list and recruiting managers are going, what they're making of the action?
Yeah, well, they like to get out and about at this time of the year. I think a lot are probably working from home during this period, so there's something going on, and you can see some Tier 2 players, and obviously some out of contracts that we all follow as well. If you can see them during February, it's always an added bonus. So, yeah, I reckon there'd probably be representation from at least 10 or a dozen teams here today.
For anyone who's Victorian-based as well, just craving seeing some live footy again, because you do forget the entire thing shut down in August, and we're all watching it through our television screens.
It's nice to be out at the ground. Made the trip around a couple of clubs this week. It's a gorgeous day out here at Arden Street, so it's good. I'm just watching behind the play. Looks like Aaron Hall just hopping off. Didn't quite see what happened to Aaron behind the football, but looks like he's walking off unassisted, but might have a bit of a knock.
Get an update on his condition through the half-time break if he doesn't appear in this quarter, as pink side having a good rub of the green here in terms of ball movement, as Aidan Core decides to fist it over the line, lauding the ruck composition that's sort of existing now with the Coleman-Jones acquisition, Goldstein and Tristan Zeri's development. Braids, but you've got a really strong complement of tall defenders now. Ben Mackay we've already spoken about, but Josh Walker comes off his career best season, and Aidan Core, as Riley touched on in the opening quarter, is a virtual new recruit.
Yeah, that's right. We obviously really keen to get Corey into our program a year and a half ago, and unfortunately only got 2 games out for us before he had that infected toe, and cost him his season, unfortunately. So Yeah, I think we'll look like a new side down there a little bit with Buckets and Walks. They're so reliable, and Aiden's obviously in our leadership group now, and Zeeb's down there that have got a lot of experience. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how they all gel together.
Talk to us about Jared Pollock's summer, because obviously he moved to the rookie list this year, struggled to find the footy last year and struggled to get a good run of senior games under his belt, but looks like he's someone who's back to his best. I think he would have had about 15, 20 touches in the first quarter alone.
Yeah, which he backed up again from last week when he did the same in that first quarter when we had some match him. So, yeah, he's got himself really fit. We know how much talent he's got. He's obviously an amazing talent when he came to our club from Port Adelaide and from Brisbane before that. So we think he can recapture that form if he keeps showing the attitude and the training intensity he's showing at the moment. There's no reason why he can't. We saw with Aaron Hall last year, probably, he's in the same boat as Polly before that, and he ended up having a terrific year last year and found a spot in our back line, so we're hopeful that Polly can do the same on the wing for us this year.
I reckon Jason Horne-Francis has probably been the most talked about number one pick of all time. Can you take us through some of the other draftees that you picked up? Because it's a really talented bunch. Josh Goda, I spoke to David Noble a couple of weeks ago, and he pinpointed him as someone who's been one of the standouts on the track this summer. We saw Paul Curtis do some nice things in the forward line in that first quarter as well. Has anyone's taken your eye out of that batch?
Yeah, they've been a really impressive crew that's come in. When you come in together and you do all your training together and you live together for the first few weeks as well, they end up being really tight, and this group's no different. The pleasing thing to hear is that they've picked all the game plan and the education from that side of things. They've picked that up really quickly, so that's good to hear from our end as guys that bring in the talent. So their attitude and their training's been really good. Paul Curtis, I think, is one that before the ball's shown that he might get a sniff at some stage this year from where we sit. We think he's adding some things for the ball that we probably haven't seen at our club for a while. But Goda and Bergman are settling in down back, and Jacko Archer's not playing today after a bit of a knock last week. But yeah, he's certainly a young defender that's going to play a role for us at VFL this year, and he can play on certain types, which has been good to see.
Bode Stevens popping the handball to Ainsworth to Goda, and nearly out. Young with the fist keeps it in the front half for Team Blue. On Curtis, can you give us a likeness against a player on another list at the moment you think he compares to, and what has he brought in that front half that you were just alluding to?
Yeah, he certainly brings some pressure skills, Nige. We saw it at the Western Jets, but probably the repeat efforts was the thing that he needs to work on a bit more. And now that he's fitter, and we've seen a bit more strength to hold on to the tackles too in one pre-season, that pressure's been really good. But he's good overhead. He gets the good spots, follow the ball, and when he's got the ball in hand and entering forward 50, he can really make something happen. So he's got a bit of X factor about him, this boy, and as I said, we probably haven't had it at AFL level for a few years. Taran Thomas is obviously one that's played down there a bit, but he's obviously playing a bit more midfield these days. But yeah, Paul's got that X factor for the footy that can just make something out of nothing.
Speaking of making something out of nothing, JHF with the fend off, and then Zurhar with the goal. He's got two. Nick Larkey's got a couple. It's 6-5 to 3-2, and what's been a pretty competitive hit out. We're through 14 minutes of the second quarter of North Melbourne's Intraclub, ahead of facing Melbourne at Casey Fields next Thursday to begin their Interclub games. Of course, this second quarter brought to you by AIA, the health and life and wellbeing partner of the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Sign up as a North member and redeem your offer for 9 weeks of free health insurance with AIA. Head to aia.com.au. Of course, don't forget, from a membership point of view, 1300 Kangas, that's 1300 526 427 to get involved, or head to membership.nmfc.com.au as the club tries to chase down the target of 50,000 members for season 2022. And why wouldn't you when you've got a forward like Nick Larkey to go and watch at the footy every single week he marks. He'll try and kick his third of the afternoon so far. Where's his growth come from as an individual to be viewed by his peers as being worthy of being a leader of the footy club?
Yeah, he's always had a lot of influence, Nige, over the group. He's a very likeable character. The boys really warm to him, but I think the growth's been around his football knowledge. I think since Narbs has been here in particular, and Heath Uni as his forwards coach, his knowledge around leading patterns, the way we want to move the ball, his ability to marshal his troops up in the forward half has really come on, and in conjunction with Cam Zerha as well. They work really well together, those two, and for young forwards, they've got a fair bit riding on them, and their leadership down there has been really good. So I think with Larks, he's probably added a few extra strings to his bow with the way he approaches the kicker as well, and he's probably got caught into leading back towards goal a fair bit too much in the past, but now he really presents really well, and he's a sort of bloke, when you've got the ball in the hands, you've sort of got to kick it to him. He draws the kicker's attention a lot, so he's added that to his game last year as well.
See a few supporters enjoying a quiet Friday afternoon beer in the shade of the left forward pocket to the left of screen. So Larky 3, Zerha 2, the multiple goal kickers so far. Simpkin, Pollock on the left. He can load up from here. That's everything you want to see from Jared Pollock if you're a North Melbourne supporter, as the 2022 campaign beckons. Came back for those 2 games in round 19 and 20, but played just the 5 games last year, but nonetheless won't turn 30 till postseason, 146 games. These wingers who can run, spread and use their left foot like that do not grow on trees, but they're so important, particularly for how the modern game's played.
Yeah, you're 100% right. He could be so influential for us, Jared, if he keeps up this training intensity and attitude, as I spoke about before. So not many people can do what he just did, off a couple of steps outside 50 and put it through into the wind. So, if he keeps up this form, obviously he's going to be in around one side. So ball's in his court.
So Simpkin on the overlap to Taylor, now to Zerha. The driver's coming out of the golf bag here for Zerha, that's the case. Rightly heads to Larky, but you see the best of Marty Hall there with that kick hanging. He was able to use the arm to elevate, close down the best part of 10 centimetres. He's spotting Nick Larky and see it out of bounds. So throw in, we're playing a 25-minute quarter plus a little bit of time on for goals. Phillips slides through and gives off to Scott. Chain of handballs. Let's see, Stevens elect to have a bounce, and he's got a cavalry of pink around him. Kick will be chopped off by Ben Mackay. Braids, will let you go and get back to duties, maybe check in on a couple of those opposing list managers and welcome them to Arden Street, maybe try and get them to buy a membership. And good luck to you and your team. It's a really important time at not only assessing the club's list, securing those important deals, but seeing what else can be brought to the footy club for future years. We really appreciate your time and your insight. Good luck.
No worries. Thanks for having me, guys.
Brady Rawlings, the club's general manager of football talent, good enough to join us. Great insight for everyone tuning in. As mentioned, we'll hear from Daniel McPherson, new general manager of football performance during the second half of the game, is Eddie Ford, who kicked the first goal of this match. Kicks one. Jack Marnie heading to the bench. A little bit proppy, but doesn't look like there's anything too concerning about that. Tristan Zeri, the main one at the moment that we'll seek to get an update on after that knock a little bit earlier on, Riley.
Just been told X will be done for the day. He's up, he's okay, he's walking around. Just completely precautionary that we'll withdraw him from the rest of these Intraclub, so he won't play the final 3 quarters of this one. I tell you what, when Brady was on, some exciting signs from Jason Horne-Francis. You mentioned the fend off and the little give out of congestion to Cam Zerha. He went through the middle one, a big clearance. I mean, he's going to be a player that comes in and impacts straight away from round 1. It's interesting making the comparison between him and Will Phillips the season before. Phillips had his entire draft year virtually wiped out by COVID, being a Victorian kid in 2020, whereas Jason Horne-Francis plays sample footy as he wins the ball there. Plays sample footy, senior sample footy the whole year. Just his ability to take that experience on from last year and take it into the summer at an AFL club means he can probably hit the ground running a bit easier than Will Phillips did last year. And I think I spoke to David Noble a couple of weeks ago, and he did say you sort of have to adjust their expectations accordingly based on that. So I think they're really excited about the prospect of Horne-Francis coming straight into this team and playing round one.
And they were opposed to that contest there. The two highest picks for the club in the previous two drafts, and it was Phillips winning it to Walker, but there was a turnover, and now Team Blue looked to take it the length of Arden Street. Larkey on the end of it, waits for the runner, and Davies Uniacke, who went to chip through the hands of Goda. Now it's Powell who can steady, kick just before the Ainsworth tackle, and Julie deliver. So classy finish from Tom Powell, and Blue side getting on a little bit of a roll here in the second part of the second quarter. The club's best young player last season, set to turn 21 in between the Melbourne and Swans practice matches. Kicks his first, and we're almost at the 20-minute mark. It's 9-5 playing 3-2, so it's been 5 goals to 1 in the second quarter in favour of the Blue side, who admittedly have got a bit more of a stacked deck in terms of strength.
Just on Tom Powell, I don't think he ended up getting a NAB AFL Rising Star nomination last year, even though when he was lost for the season to that groin injury, I probably had him down as one of the few favourites for the award, because he sort of thought it would be inevitable that he would end up getting it. He didn't end up getting it because of the injury and the timing of that, but I thought he had a really strong year and an underrated year in a side that struggled from the outset and grew as the season wore on. His work in congestion's fantastic. His ability to play immediately as a midfielder right from the start in round one last year was, I thought, really impressive, and I think he'll take great strides into this season. It's notable that he's in the stronger side this afternoon. It's notable that he's spending a bit of time forward of the ball as well. So I'm expecting him to be another one that's going to be really entrenched in that best 22 throughout the season.
Some great scenes outside the fence a couple of minutes ago. A couple of young kids wearing number 6 blue and white jumpers. Feel like that's a piece of merchandise we're going to get used to seeing, but there's a few number 9s starting to get around as well, with plenty of people jumping on the Luke Davies Uniacke bandwagon. So this is Ford, and he has his second of the day so far, and it's been a bit to like from what we've seen from Eddie Ford on the end of obviously less supply than what we've seen heading the way of the team in blue. Eddie Ford's got a couple. Yeah,
he's been one of the really impressive players for this pink team throughout the afternoon so far, starting as one of the deepest forwards, but we've seen him take marks above his head. We've seen him impact on ground level, and that's the type of thing that I think David Noble, Brady Rawlings, Dan McPherson and that coaching team would be really wanting to see from him, the ability to go both ways on ground level and through the air, because he's one of the players that's certainly capable of doing that. I know a lot of clubs in his draft year quite liked Eddie Ford. He ended up slipping through to the Kangaroos with one of their later picks, but I know he was one that was really liked by club recruiters and thought that he would make a good pick later in the draft. So he's made an impact this afternoon, and I'm sure they'd want to see more of that throughout the year. I've just seen Aaron Hall come back onto the bench in his street clothes, not wearing the Intraclub colours this afternoon, so it looks like he might be done for the day. We saw him cop a knock behind play earlier in the afternoon, limped off the ground. We'll have to get an update and see what the issue is there for Aaron Hall.
Turner for Pollock. If you're just tuning in, perhaps having finished your work for the week, Jared Pollock's probably one of the major takeaways from what we've seen in the first half of this game so far, patrolling the wing, and he's impacted back, he's impacted through the midfield, and also a really classy goal earlier in this quarter as Turner's kick. Zerha had the hands over the top of Bode Stevens. Marnie, Powell, went to handball initially, decided to kick and turns it over into the middle of the ground. Hayden versus Curtis. With that speed and pizzazz that Brady Rawlings was referencing a few moments ago, as Jack Watkins taking the ground. One of the club's VFL listed players in action this afternoon. Goldstein over the top. Distributing was Davies Uniacke. Greenwood to Zerha, who can gallop away with a bounce on Stone, and the overlap's created now for Marnie, who's got Larkey leading towards him. The kick hung and Hall took full advantage, works it forward and found Edwards with the kick. His handball shared at Harry Jones. Looking it forward now, and tackling work from Hayden. Clever handball forward, just went without it initially and took the eyes off the footy, and as a result that's out of bounds. So we'll have a throw in at left half forward with just under 3 minutes left to play. Now allotted 25 minutes. We'll have a 20-minute break at half time and then be back for two 20-minute quarters to round out what's already been a really productive hit out for the entire list involved this afternoon.
Just been told it's hamstring tightness for Aaron Hall. That's why he was limping off the ground earlier. He's done for the day as well, so he won't take part in the second half.
Pollock with the clearance, half volley ball from Marnie. Went through on Walker a third time, then almost dragged it in, but got one high in the process.
How impressive has he been in this first half, Jack Marnie? I reckon this is probably, he'd be in the high teens for disposals. He's kicked a goal, he's got a goal to his name, he's been involved in a couple of others. He's been really lively, one of these really good players.
Busy a couple of times as Jack Siebel landed heavily on his left arm there, but shakes it off without too many problems. Replay of the landing here. For the moment you were thinking, please no, do not be an AC or a shoulder, but the skipper looks okay. Coleman Jones down, like his kick was smothered by Pat Walker. Phillips kicks high as a tangle of legs between Josh and Matt Walker, the opponents. Zeeble for Hayden, steps back to Josh Walker, and his kick should go the required distance, and Jared Pollock could be taking home the game ball. He's had plenty of it.
Luke McDonald, another one done for the day. We saw that head knock with Tristan Jerry in the first quarter, so both of them just dealing with the after effects of that head knock. So he's another one that won't play in the second half.
Jackson Archer, of course, in the protocols at the moment, concussion-wise, not taking his place in the match this afternoon. Jaden Stevenson checking out, so his first half looks done with 45 seconds left. Walker gave it to Jones, who was surrounded with Zerha, the main tackler, then Paddy Walker to ground. Another stoppage. Eddie Ford checks out for a spell. A good first half in the second year Roo with a couple of goals. Davies Uniacke stands up in the tackle. Simpkin takes advantage of the line. So I hope you're enjoying this one on nmfc.com.au. A lot to like about what we've seen in the opening half, with 13 goals kicked across the board. Players young and old standing up and showing the benefit of a really strong pre-season. Phillips, one of them. Harry Jones has the final touch of the opening half. So halftime score in North's Intraclub: Blue 9-5-59, Pink 4-2-26. The scoreboard really irrelevant, but I think good that they're keeping score nonetheless, because that does keep a competitive element to these games, and there's always a player or two who keep the internal scoreboard a note. Anyway,
Sure Nick Larkey would be.
Well, Nick Larkey should be. He's got 3. Cam Zerha with a couple. Marnie, Stevenson, Pollock and Powell, the goal kickers so far for the blue team. Todd Goldstein kicked a major in the opening quarter when he was wearing a pink jumper. Of course, the rotation of the rucks has seen him wear blue in the second quarter as well. Eddie Ford's got 2 for the side in pink. Matt Walker, the VFL listed player, with 1. So half-time here on nmfc.com.au. It's Blue 9-5, Pink 4-2. Nigel Carmody and Riley Beveridge bringing you the action. GM of Football Performance, Daniel McPherson, to join us in the third quarter as well. That second term brought to you with thanks to our match day partner in AIA, the club's health, life and wellbeing partner. Of course, you can head to aia.com.au too. If you are a North Melbourne member, redeem an offer for 9 weeks of free health insurance. Have a little spell, grab yourself a drink and a snack. We'll be back